Hey everyone, this is Andrew at Plainview Farm, and if you are new to the channel, chances are you may not know a whole lot about what we do here. So let's go for a quick tour, if you will. First place we're gonna go is right over here. Ignore my fine collection of junk. We've got some old equipment, different parts and pieces of stuff that I'm using in various projects or plan to use in various projects. But right there we have our breeding pair, our sow and our boar hog, Curly Sue and Old Dan. So Curly Sue and Old Dan are, as I said, our breeding pair. However, they're probably not going to be for much longer because Curly Sue isn't breeding back, and I'm not sure if it's a problem with Old Dan or Curly Sue. Actually, I've got a video all about that if you want to hunt that one down. But Curly Sue is half Mangalitsa, and then she is 1/4 red wattle, 1/4 mulefoot. Old Dan, he's a large black hog. And that's not just a description, that's actually the name of the breed. Now you will likely notice that Dan and Curly Sue, as they run off in that direction for some reason, I'm not sure why. Hey pigs. Hey pigs. As I said, Dan and Curly Sue, they're not in a pen. I just kind of let them run wherever they want to. One of the good things about the breeds of hog that we have going on with these pigs is that they don't do much rooting. Now, pretty much most breeds of hog are going to do some kind of rooting, at least a little bit, but these pigs, they're more grazers than they are rooters. And that's honestly one of the primary reasons why I like that, or those breeds, is because they're good for pastured pork, which is what we have here. Our pigs are raised outside on dirt, and during the active growing seasons, they will graze the grass. They're pastured pigs. These 4 pigs right here in this pen, they are the last of the most recent litter of pigs that we got earlier this year out of Curly Sue and Dan. And these guys are going to be going to the processor after the first of the year, kind of over the probably the first 3 or 4 months of the year is when these pigs will be making their trip to freezer camp. And up until recently, one of the things that we did with our hogs here was we sold feeder pigs and we sold butcher hogs. And when I say we sold butcher hogs, what I mean by that is we sold pigs that were grown out, ready to go to the butcher. What I would do is feed these pigs out, make an appointment, and then find buyers to buy the hogs based on their weight whenever they went into the processing facility, and the customer would then pay me for the pigs. However, recently we have joined our local farmers market and we've started selling cuts of meat directly to consumers in that fashion, I guess you'd say. We take our pigs to a USDA inspected facility where they are then processed, and that allows us to sell meat directly to our consumers by the cut. Now we are a little bit farther off whenever it comes to beef, but we have here 3 yearling calves and then 1 calf that will be a year old in the coming spring. 1 steer and 2 heifers, and they will be processed for beef late in 2025. So my cattle are Lowline Angus or Aberdeens, American Aberdeens, depending on who you talk to. It seems like there's 100 names for these things. But I chose those cattle, primarily one, because their size. They're a smaller animal, which makes it easier to manage. And it also requires fewer inputs. You can have more cattle with fewer inputs, but the lowline cattle, they also produce more meat per pound than a conventional beef will. And what I mean by that is the percentage of retail cuts that you'll get out of the carcass is actually higher than the percentage that you will get out of a conventionally sized cattle. Now, while we make our way down here to where the cows and the bull are, I'll kind of show you my grazing system. What I have on my farm, again, there's 20 acres here. I have a central alleyway that runs right down the middle of my property. The 2/3 of the 20 acres is on the south side of the property here. The other third is on the north side over there where the calves all were. But I have this south side, again, with the central alleyway, and there's one pond here. There's another pond at the opposite corner down there, and I have it divided into 5 paddocks, with 2 being on each side and then 1 all the way down at the end, and that is where the cattle are now. Now, this paddock right here is probably the best one in terms of the quality of the grass that I am growing. There's a lot of clover in here, and then primarily fescue. It's all weedy because it had been kind of let go for a while. This was once all used for hay. This property was originally purchased by my great-grandfather in the 1940s. But as I was saying, this paddock right over here, it has a pond in it. That pond is not very deep, and it'll go dry when it's a really dry summer. But the pond down at the other end is, it's separated off, so the cattle can only get into it if I allow them to. Oh, and I guess we can't walk past these 2 characters without telling you who they are. That's Bella and Charles. They are our miniature donkeys. This paddock right here behind me has goats in it right now, but we will get to those in just a little bit. First, I want to talk about my cows and my bull down here. So anyway, as I was saying, these are electric fences dividing up all of the pastures out here, and this allows me to move the cattle through more efficiently in terms of grazing. I can run them into this alleyway and then put them into any one of these paddocks. I don't have to follow any specific pattern or plan. Honestly, it just comes down to which one is ready to be grazed first. I can also subdivide these paddocks with wheels of poly wire if I so desire. So my fences through here, as I was saying, they're all electric fence. They are 14 gauge high tensile galvanized wire, and I just use these fiberglass rods to keep them in place. The goats will go through them, but the cows and the donkeys, they respect them. So this is the space here that has the pond in it. The pond is right over there. You can see where I've recently cleaned it out. It's actually been right about a year ago that I cleaned this pond out, and it's holding water really well. It didn't go dry at all during the summer. Did pretty good. But what I do is, whenever the cows are on this end of the property, in order to make their walk shorter to get to water, I will open up this gate right here, which is 2 wires with handles attached, which I'll show you right here. So every paddock has 2 wires with gate handles attached, and that's how they connect right there. Have these gate hangers that are all connected back to the electrical fence system. And I do have a series of videos on electric fence and this grazing system that I've set up if you want to check that out. So anyway, we just pull the gate handles off and drop them back here on the ground out of the way so that the cows can make the short trip from whatever paddock they're grazing into this one here where the pond is, so they can get all the water they need. So this paddock here that the cows are in right now, this is the last one they will be in before I start feeding hay, which, you know, this video I believe will be posted on the 1st of December. So it'll probably be in the next week or so that I actually start feeding hay. They've just about gotten everything out of here that they can get. If you look right here, you can see there's still some green grass down in the bottom amongst all the sage and the weeds, but they've picked through pretty well what's out here. And of course, we don't want to overgraze this to the point that it stunts the grass growth next spring. So these are my cows. There are 5 cows and 1 bull over there, Mr. Sampson. So my cows, as I said before, are all smaller than your conventional cattle. These cows are about, roughly 2/3 the size of a conventional cow. And one of the reasons, as I was saying before, that I like that is that they are easy to handle. They're fairly tame cows, which I know, you don't have to get short cows in order to get tame cows, but they are easy to handle. They're a genetically a fairly docile breed of cattle. 4 of the 5 cows should be calving shortly. It's a little bit later in the fall than I like to be calving, but that's just kind of the way things have worked out. I do have 1 cow that is a spring calver. It's this one right here. Her tag is number 42. I doubt you can see that. But she is my spring calving cow, and she is the mother of the spring calf that I showed you back over there on the other side. So the calves that these cows have this year should be the 3rd calf for each one of them. They're young cows. The bull is a relatively young bull. I don't know exactly how old he is. I bought him as a group. Actually, I bought a set of 10 cows and a bull, but I have kind of whittled it down to this set of 5 right here that I want to basically be the building blocks of my herd going forward. So one of the greatest benefits is that only being on 20 acres, these 5 cows, they really don't put a huge dent into the pastures out here. We've got plenty of grass whenever we are in the growing season, and I've had to come through and mow. I don't have hay quality pastures, but the cows are able to do what they need to do on what grass that I do have. So once they finish off this paddock of stockpiled grass that they're in now, they will move back up closer to the house where I will begin feeding hay. And this year I plan to go to I guess you'd say a deep bedding pack style of hay feeding. We're going to put wood chips down and start feeding our hay in the same place every time we feed hay, and let the cattle basically build up a nice big compost pile for us. Now ideally we would do that under roof cover in some type of barn, but don't have that available, so we're going to make do with what we've got. Now for the goats. These are our boar meat goats. We do not actually raise them for meat. They are here mainly to eat the browse that grows up in amongst the pastures. That's why I have them. As I said before, my pastures are not hay quality. There is a lot of weeds, a lot of brush, that kind of thing that grows up in here, and I've got the goats to try to keep that pressure down. But some of these goats are registered, some of them are not, but we sell these goats through a local auction barn to go into the commercial goat system, I guess you'd call it. We have 9 nannies, a billy, and then 1 doeling that we held back from the spring crop this year that we plan to make a nanny out of. These goats should kid next spring, and we figure 1.5 kids per goat, and the plan is to keep as many of the doelings that we consider to be good enough to keep, I guess, you know, breeding stock, to continue to grow our goat herd. The billies out of the coming spring crop, again, they'll all go to market. Now, one of the great things about having goats and cattle together is that goats and cattle, for the most part, do not compete for the same food. The things that the cattle will leave behind whenever they graze through a paddock, the goats will come behind and clean up. Now, of course, as you see out here, they're all eating grass, picking grass out of the pasture here, because all of the browse has died off. We had our first good hard freeze here just a couple days ago, and so all of those things, leaves have finally dropped, and there's really not much for them to pick through. But one of the crazy things about a goat is that even whenever you put hay out, they don't require a whole lot in order to keep themselves going. They are incredible at picking through and finding something, you know, the nourishment that they need, the nutrients that they need in order to keep themselves going. In fact, I'll feed them hay right along with the cows, and the goats won't hardly put a dent in what I put out for the cows. Now, as far as my kids are concerned, the goats are definitely where it's at. Whatever tame goats we have because the kids come out here and spend a whole lot of time working to tame them down. And it's definitely an exciting thing to see your children taking an interest in finding joy on the farm with the animals. I try not to push them into doing the things that I like, into forcing them to like the things that I like. But as I said, it's really neat whenever they find something that they enjoy on their own. And last, but definitely not least, is our egg chickens. Right now we have 25 layers that are in this little coop and run. We have 6 nest boxes, I think, 5 nest boxes for these chickens in this coop. And in the spring, they will go out on pasture, which I'm gonna have to build a new egg mobile. That's currently in planning stages. And whenever we take these chickens onto pasture in the spring, there will be about twice as many. And I'll say this about chickens, especially egg chickens: you can never have enough eggs at the farmer's market. That is one thing that we are starting to figure out. It seems like there's always people willing to buy eggs, and even if you're not in the farmer's market, we sold eggs to friends and neighbors and family and that kind of stuff as well. But we never have a problem getting rid of our eggs. Our son, he's the egg man. Have a bucket out here that holds feed. He collects the eggs, he feeds and waters the chickens. So again, gives them an opportunity to learn some responsibility. And now we don't sell anything from them, but we do have some fruit trees for our own personal use here in our garden area. And we've raised pastured chicken and turkeys in the past, and we hope to get back into that into the future as well. So this is everything that we have going on our 20 acres. And I'm not trying to deceive anyone or make you think that we do better than we actually do. My wife and I, we both have regular jobs that we work. We are trying to build up a business that will hopefully supplement that income. And as much as I would love to own a really large farm, I don't. I've got 20 acres. And so I'm trying to maximize what I can based on what I have. And the way to do that is to stack. Stack as many enterprises on as you can, get as many different revenue sources contributing to the pot as you can. The chickens, the cattle, the pigs, the goats, even the donkeys. We've sold a donkey colt before. all of those things help contribute to the overall goal, which is to establish a profitable farm. And I made this video with the purpose of showing people that it is possible on just a small piece of land to put together a small scale farm that is profitable, that does contribute to the household, that helps you to reach whatever goals you may have in mind. And I'll add this as well: if you have to start a YouTube channel or a blog or start selling other kinds of handmade merchandise, whatever it may be, if it contributes to the overall goal, then by all means, it's on the table. It truly is all about finding what you enjoy, finding what makes you happy, and building the life that you want to live. So anyway, I guess I'll quit preaching to you. But if you want to know more about small scale farming,